it up. Thank you all very much for coming. As you know by now, this morning Officers Anthony Mayfield Jr. and Officer Michael Acevedo were wounded in the line of duty. I want to say that on behalf of the people of the city, our thoughts are with them and obviously with their families. I had an opportunity to visit with the families this morning at the hospital. We are praying alongside of the family, the friends, and with the community, both for the families of the officers and for the families of the individuals that were on the other side of this episode. Those families didn't ask for this either. It is part of what I have said is a circle of pain that comes from the unnecessary and unconscionable level of violence that permeates the city of New Orleans as it relates to killings and guns. I've spoken about this if you heard me talk about the story of James Darby and Joseph Norfleet. Both of those families were destroyed as a result of that activity back in 1994, and that same story continues to play itself out on the streets of New Orleans. Today, these two officers showed the greatest amount of heroism. It reminds us again every day that police officers are in a profession that sometimes requires the ultimate commitment. A lot has been said about NOPD in the last couple of years in New Orleans. Sometimes we often lose sight of the fact that these men and women get up every day and risk what unfortunately occurred today. Their job requires great courage and great sacrifice, and that was displayed this morning. They acted selflessly in the face of extreme danger. As a city, I'm calling on the people once again to say no more. We have to, as a community, stand up and say that this is unacceptable behavior. Only then will we be able to stem the tide of violence and killing in the city of New Orleans. It is unacceptable. It's important to say it. It's important to mean it. It's important to act on it. There's no question that this is a daunting challenge, but the people of New Orleans know that we're all responsible. We all have to make this happen. If we want to take back our streets, we have to develop a comprehensive approach, all hands on deck. It is first and foremost a matter of personal responsibility. There's no question about that. Is it about parents talking to their children? It is about the faith-based community and community leaders. It's about neighborhood leaders. It's about reforming NOPD and engaging the community. It's about City Hall getting better and working together more closely with the criminal justice system. And it's about the entire city saying that we are going to be a city of peace and not a city of violence. It's important that we rise to the occasion. For today, I want to encourage the men and women of the New Orleans Police Department to keep up the hard work, keep patrolling, keep investigating, keep meeting with understanding and listening to the community. The community will solve this problem along with us so that once and for all we can stop this circle of pain that seems to stop us every time we make a couple of steps forward. It moves us a couple of steps back. The next time you see a New Orleans police officer, please stop them and thank them for their service, because they are always called upon to do the most difficult things in the most difficult circumstances. And both of these officers did that today. Unfortunately, they're paying a very, very heavy price for it. And so our prayers go out to them and to all the families that have been involved in this awful event. And now I'd like to turn it over to the Chief to give more specific comments, and then we'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for your continued support of the men and women of this department and of our community. As it stands right now, both of our officers had suffered multiple gunshots, and the officers are reported to be in stable condition at University Medical Center. And we thank the University Medical Center and their staff for providing immediate and excellent care for our officers. The officers are in stable condition, but they will have a long road to recovery. We think of them, we think of their families, and we thank the people of New Orleans for being on the prayers of these officers and their families. We also thank the mayor for being there with the families this morning at the hospital, and I was with the hospital as well. We'll do roll calls in the next couple of days with mental health professionals to ensure that we're all staying focused on the job at hand. We all have a lot of work to do in New Orleans, and we all need to continue to work hard together in New Orleans, and we will. Preliminary information tells us that this morning around 5:39 a.m., Officer Jason Giroir, who was working Mid-City Crime Prevention District overtime, made a traffic stop of a white Grand Am vehicle. That vehicle stopped in the 500 block of North Bernadette, just near Toulouse. There were two men in the car, Earl Sipp and Justin Sipp, brothers. As Officer Giroir was conducting his traffic stop investigation, he became concerned and called for backup. As Officer Giroir was identifying the driver, Earl Sipp, Officers Mayfield and Officers Acevedo arrived on the scene within 3 to 4 minutes to back him up. As Officers Acevedo and Mayfield were identifying and working upon identifying Justin Sipp, and as Justin Sipp was getting out of the vehicle, we have reason to believe that Justin Sipp removed a secreted .380 handgun from his waistband and opened fire on Officers Mayfield and Acevedo. While wounded, Officer Mayfield and Officer Acevedo returned fire, as did Officer Giroir. As a result of this exchange, we know that Mayfield and Acevedo were wounded, multiply shot, and transported to the hospital, and we also know that Justin Sipp expired on the scene. Our investigation continues. We continue to ask the people of New Orleans, anyone in New Orleans who has information that could help understand more of this event and what occurred, to please contact our homicide detectives or contact Crime Stoppers. Earl Sipp was shot and had a minor wound to his leg. He was treated and released, and after questioning, he was released from police custody, and he received a citation for driving on a suspended driver's license. At this time, we again thank everyone for their support of the officers and their families and of our New Orleans Police Department. Tomorrow there will be a blood drive that we will announce more information on later today. Thank you.
Now I understand that Earl Sipp was in handcuffs at the time of the shooting. Why was he in handcuffs, and where was he physically when the shots were fired?
Those are parts of the investigation that I'm not able to talk about at this point, to confirm or deny that.
And if he was in handcuffs, why was he not charged with anything at this point other than a suspended license?
When he had a suspended license, that was the beginning of a violation that could require an arrest.
Brendan, Chief, can you define what a proactive traffic stop is and explain what precipitated this stop this morning? What prompted Officer Giroir to make this stop?
Officer Giroir was directly dispatched as part of our crime prevention strategy and our crime and addiction strategy into parts of the community. Traffic investigations is what key tool in the law enforcement tool belt. Officer Giroir witnessed a traffic violation that caused attention to be drawn to the Grand Am. He made a traffic stop, and a traffic stop involves identifying the driver and confirming that the violation occurred and decision on a citation. While confirming the identity of the driver, in this case Earl Sipp, Officer Giroir learned that Earl Sipp was driving on a suspended driver's license, which is a violation of the law, and was determining whether or not he had an active warrant for him for an arrest, which we have subsequently learned he did, for a traffic attachment out of Jefferson Parish.
How many weapons were recovered from the other side, the suspect side, and how many shots were fired by the suspects and the officers?
So far, we've recovered one weapon that we believe was in the possession and use of Justin Sipp, and the police officers, all of course, was armed. The numbers of shots fired are known to us, and we continue to reconstruct the scene, so I'd rather wait until we have a full reconstruction to tell you that number.
Mary? Said a half dozen, is that in the neighborhood?
I'd rather make sure we've done a very good scene investigation, then we'll be able to talk about that.
Can you say what the specific violation was that caused them to stop the car? And also, was one of the people on the way to Burger King to work?
The specific traffic violation by Officer Jason Giroir is being reviewed. It was a moving violation, we believe. As to the employment, both brothers, we believe, worked at Burger King, but one worked at the Canal Street Burger King, Earl, and we think Justin worked at the Carrollton Burger King.
Monica,
What was the red flag that prompted officers to call 108 in the first place? And is it standard for one man to be in a vehicle at one time?
It's absolutely standard to be in a one-person car concept. And what Officer Giroir did is what his training was. He conducted a traffic stop. When he recognized that he thought he needed backup, he called that backup in. The backup immediately arrived. The signal 108 was not what occurred. That occurs after the shooting began, but it wasn't what started the process.
we'll take a last one from Mary.
Did the two people in the car have records?
Both persons have had prior records. Both of the Sip brothers, one record in the case of Earl Sip was one arrest in 2009 that was subsequently dropped. And in the case of Justin Sip, there was more of a record.
Chief, were they wearing the vest? Can you say they were wearing the vest?
The officers were not wearing a vest.
Can you say why?
The officers had chose not to wear a vest that day.
They were provided with vests, though, or vests were available?
Every officer has a vest. They had vests as well.
Is that at their discretion?
The department policy requires that a vest be worn, but today I want to focus on healing our officers and getting them healthy, and then we'll continue to look back at what policies may or may not apply.
Thank you all.
Promise.
Yep, we'll take questions back
He is so good at answering the